You're listening to the Tuesday Review. I'm Nathan, as always, joined by James. How you going, James?
Not bad, how are you?
Good, thank you. I'm joined by Alum GPT. How you going, Alum GPT?
What's going on?
And I'm also joined by Callum. How you going,
Your
Callum?
subscription has expired.
Oh, no.
Please renew.
Well, the API was getting very complicated anyway. I'm okay. How are you, Nathan?
Yeah, not too bad. Taking it easy tonight, talking about some things that we've watched. I guess we'll start with something that came out a couple weeks ago that we took some time to get to. The new South Park special, The End of Obesity.
Mm-hmm.
We've all seen it. Alum has just finished watching it.
No, we've all seen it. That's
Why
it.
did it take you so long? Anyway. I watched it when it came out, so I've already forgotten everything that happened. All I remember is that it was very funny.
And yet I'm really fresh in my memories.
Well, because we were supposed to talk about it 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember it was funny. That's it. You'll have to refresh my memory.
I liked it, and it says a lot of stuff about, I guess the American healthcare system and access to drugs and life-saving medications.
That navigating the American healthcare
That was
system.
funny, yeah.
That was a good part of it. And it's,
insurance.
And it's also very true.
Mm.
Like the drugs that potentially are designed for people like Cartman, he's not eligible because he technically doesn't have the diabetes so he can't get these diabetes drugs. But if you have money, then you can just buy them.
You can buy anything, yeah.
Yeah.
That's always the stupid part where it's like, well, we don't want to give you these drugs because you don't have the particular disorder. Unless
you want to pay out of pocket, yeah.
Then we'll give you anything.
Yeah.
We'll give you cancer drugs. We'll give you, there's that guy that was trying to live forever. He's like taking like metformin, which is another diabetes drug and stuff.
Isn't there also a billionaire that's doing like blood transfusions from
Probably
his
the
son
same.
or something?
Yeah.
And he looks weird.
He does look weird.
And he's like, look how young I look. But it's just like, it's like one of those guys that he's like a middle-aged man, but he's done so much Botox and like all those kinds of other things to make him look young. He's like, no, I'm all natty, bro.
It doesn't look how you think it looks.
There's like one of the guys I know, he went through like a nasty divorce. He's all right seeming. Like you wouldn't say he looks particularly old or young. But the other guy who's in a similar boat, I don't know if he's a billionaire or not, but he also spends a lot of money on obviously being young and including those like a myriad of drugs. He's like, I'm trying to look young and this and that. I'm like, dude, you look like you're 58.
Yeah, it hasn't.
I think he's like late 30s or something. This guy, and I'm like, you look older than.
Oh, it's gone the opposite way.
Yeah, I'm like, maybe again, youthful obviously appearance may not necessarily be relative to youthful health. But just overall, I'm like, look, I don't know what you're doing, but
it's all service level for these people too, right? They just want to look young. They don't actually really care
That's
about
the thing
their
is like that 80-year-old lady who got plastic surgery so she looks like 20. And I mean, I guess technically she looks 20, but she looks like her face is melted wax. But also like inside she's still 80.
Yeah.
Like you still be shuffling around like...
You ever see those pictures of Madonna where like she looks all youthful or whatever, and then you see the zoom up of her hands and it's an old person's hands?
She's also been caught out with doing filters and stuff like
but it just makes me laugh, just like someone do a close up of her hand and it's like an old person.
Because there's been footage of her on on video on the internet, and then the filter falls off and it's like old lady face, and then the filter comes back on and she's
That's
back
the other
to
thing
youthful.
with Instagram and online stuff. It's like everything is fake.
Yeah.
And
sorry, Alan.
Even things that haven't been heavily edited, it's just when you take certain people take a photo, they're taking multiple and then choosing the best one with the best lighting.
Yeah, and then they're adding filters on top of it.
And then all flexing their abs.
Yeah,
whichever.
And that's also kind of a part of this South Park
sticking out the gear.
You do the trick where you flex your arm and you push up. You
push the biceps.
With your finger, but the camera's on this side.
So you don't need that.
Yeah, movie magic. You can't see you pushing up your bicep.
But that's part of the episode of South Park 2, this South Park special. It's kind of just like they do that because they're vain. They have these drug parties where they're sitting around now talking about how good they look.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, all the neighborhood mums having drug parties.
And
but
Randy doesn't understand what's going on, so he gets all excited.
He thinks they're doing hard drugs, but they're just doing Ozempic to get skinny.
He's half there just for the midriffs. That is a man of culture. It doesn't have to be a chiseled midriff. It can just be any general midriff.
Yeah, but so obviously he's excited about it for the wrong reasons, and general shenanigans ensue.
Yeah,
and the boys have to supply Ozempic so Cartman can lose weight, and I guess align his physical being with what he perceives to be his real self.
And the only reason because Cartman's awful, and the only reason he actually wants to do it is so people can't call him fat, so he can make fun of them, and then they have nothing to throw back at him, which is classic Cartman.
But I liked it. It was good. Another timely, I guess, not quite timely. This would have been better when Ozempic Rage was actually.
I mean, it's still a big deal.
It's still a big deal, but I feel like it did come out a little late. I would say just a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know. It's not.
But it's not too bad, but we're not getting enough South Park as well. Like, wasn't there meant to be a deal where they're getting all new seasons and then...
They've got this weird deal where it's like they do a season and then a special and then a season...
But we haven't had a special. We haven't had a season, man.
Yeah, but it's like split between Comedy Central and Paramount Plus. And then they made that Streaming Wars special, which was hilarious, which was basically about this garbage. And I think it's Trey and Matt are just like...
But we haven't got a new season in well over a year, have we? And it's just been sporadic specials. I'll look it up. But I just, what's the deal?
And the last special was only like 6 episodes?
Yeah, like the last season was short.
Last season,
Because I understand that like how it originally used to be was they would make the episodes basically the week of.
Yeah.
And so they'd throw in whatever's in the zeitgeist and it's really, really hard. Yeah. To do. I understand not doing that, but at least like a planned out season where you've got maybe 6 months to do it or whatever.
Because they did a planned out season and it was one of their best seasons.
Yeah.
When they went back to, was it when Mr. Gary was Trump?
Mr. Garrison.
Mr. Garrison was Trump.
Oh, yeah.
They did that whole actual like storyline and it was amazing.
No, but didn't one of the reasons, was that the one where
he was already president?
Yeah, that was after he was president.
Maybe, yeah. But there was one that was like just a serialized kind of story told over 7-8 weeks.
The previous season, they had it all planned out for Hillary Clinton winning.
Yeah, they thought Hillary was, and then he did, and then they were like, and they had to quickly rewrite the episode.
Nobody cares what the whites think.
But we've had 3 specials in the space between the last season finishing.
When did the last season finish?
The last season finished on March the 29th, 2023.
So it's been a year. So it hasn't been exceptionally long.
Not exceptionally long, but no one's said anything about the next season. They're just kind of like...
Yeah.
And we just keep getting special after special. I'm like, just communicate more.
The unique thing about South Park is it's a long-running like sitcom show that is still pretty good.
Yeah.
Like
I would say some of their political commentary is the best it's ever been.
Well, I mean that's one,
and that's also that's also one of the things where they kind of struggle with too a little bit with their political commentary because they also kind of like.
Oh yeah, I mean they're
being fence sitters.
They're centrist.
Their libertarian views is not always, but it's like their comedy and their satire or whatever, and the fact that they are always picking on something.
Yeah.
Recent and relevant, topical. But it I don't want to say it keeps it fresh, but unlike a lot of Family Guy, Simpsons, or almost any other long-running animated show or even long-running live-action show, has just gone to crap. And South Park, I still keep watching it.
What's so interesting about South Park is that I read an article once, and I'm going to butcher the general premise of the article, so I apologize. There was someone talking about how the interesting thing about South Park is that the audience who have watched it as they've matured, in a sense, so has the show. So the for lack of a better word, audience figure in the show, like who the audience identifies with most, used to be the kids. Now, then as we get older, Randy is the audience surrogate.
Yeah.
So that there's this interaction between the audience and the show that you don't get to the same degree with things like Family Guy,
I guess
things like
helps.
The Simpsons, because your perspective shifts. We always identified with Homer or Bart or whatever, but it's like there's such a cultural shift where Randy is now a Gen X / older millennial kind of perspective with the whole kind of the political goings on at the time are always reflected in the show. So the weed legalization movement in America, Randy opens a weed store. Whenever X, Y, or Z happens,
they do that in South Park
too. They do that in Simpsons, and Simpsons is just like groan-induced eye roll.
But also The Simpsons has to be a family show.
South Park can get away with
I think
with a bit
also
more.
Probably one of the reasons South Park stays pretty decent is because Matt and Trey have been behind it since the beginning.
Yeah,
and
it's not that many.
It's always them.
Yeah.
Like all other shows. There's so many different showrunners and writers.
Revolving doors.
Exactly. Yeah. and yeah, they've had a pretty good run.
That's an understatement.
Yeah,
Having a couple years ago, they signed $1 billion deal with HBO.
I remember a few years ago when
Yeah.
they did their own like cancel South Park campaign
Yeah.
as like a joke. Like, we're gonna just keep doing this, and like we're gonna make fun of the fact that
They can't get
They can't get
cancelled, yeah.
cancelled.
But yeah, like the special's good. Watch it. I want the season. I don't want the next season, please.
I want another movie, like a big.
Yeah. I don't know what it is with these, because The Simpsons has the same problem. The movie did incredibly well, but they're too scared to do another one. Or maybe the climate's different now, but they could do one for Disney Plus.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, because they have had so many South Park specials, just doing another TV movie or streaming movie wouldn't be the same as a big theatrical.
Yeah, it's just
But
how do you
also-
do it now?
Yeah, I guess the animation's not the same as well. Like,
The animation in the
in
the Simpsons movie still holds up.
I think also when they modernized the animation in Sam Simpsons, it looks weird to me. But as South Park has always kept the same sort of general aesthetic, but has modernized, it feels less weird. I don't know.
Well, they also went back and remastered all the old episodes too. Which
I think
helps.
it's because
maybe that's
they
why.
reanimated it all,
And maybe it
everything,
feels like
It's because
It's
South
one
Park.
cohesive-
I remember when I was, I guess, catching myself up on South Park. It was through, means that I had access to.
Mhm.
And so some of the episodes would be like the original, animation.
Yeah.
And then a few of the episodes would be like really nice and like high def. I'm like, what the hell is going on?
Yeah, they went
And
back
then-
and reanimated it. Yeah.
So whoever had kindly shared this video with me had obviously, it had been different
mix
people.
and match.
Yeah, so it was mix and match. And I was like, that's actually really cool, because I think if you do watch the very original stuff, the animation was always rough. So, I mean, even
Yeah,
now,
but that's
it's like,
part of the charm.
that's part of
of
the
it.
charm. So I'm like,
But the original episodes, it's like literally just paper.
Yeah.
Like
No,
yeah.
only the first.
Really?
The first one
Yeah.
was actual paper cutouts, and then after that, it's all drawn to look like paper cutouts.
Yeah.
And now, obviously, everything's digital,
Yeah.
and
I think the reason they get away with having modernizing it but it not looking weird is because it was always such a simple style anyway. Whereas
I guess so.
The Simpsons was a more complicated animation style because they had the more lifelike people. It wasn't just blocky kind of characters.
it's weird because, like in Simpsons, when they have like a CGI vehicle because they're doing something,
That always looks
it
weird,
looks
and it
weird.
still looks weird.
But in South Park, when they have like a
Yeah.
CGI vehicle, it's like, oh, that's funny.
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
It's
stylistically it works better with the South Park
Yeah,
kind
or
of.
they
Yeah.
do something like Barbara Streisand becoming the...
The real people's faces in South Park always made me laugh.
Because the whole thing with South Park's animation style is that it's meant to look like paper mache. It's meant to look kind of fake.
yeah.
So when you have something, it's like you're playing playing make.
That's
pretend,
it's part of the
right?
joke as well
part
when
of
they
the
cut
joke,
to live
yeah.
action or
Yeah.
they
It's they do that with SpongeBob and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah, that
like,
stuff's funny.
All the fish on the news is always like the actual fish face.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like it gets away with that because it has that kind of animation aesthetic. Whereas The Simpsons is this traditional animated show with like it's harder to get away with putting CG in when it clashes with everything else.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just
But anyway, the special's good. It has
Yeah,
a lot
it's
to
funny.
say about the healthcare and the drugs that people take to lose
Yeah.
weight and who has
And
and hasn't got access
it's
to them.
hard to lose weight. Like, I don't even get mad at people who want to take a drug to get rid of.
No, especially
I would
if it's
do
what
it.
it's
If I could-
designed for.
If I could probably get it.
Yeah, but you're not in the use case where it'd be appropriate. I
Hey
would
man,
argue.
don't make me take my shirt off and prove you wrong.
I'm just saying, look, there's 3 other fat boys in the studio
Alright,
that need
you-
it more than you. I'm just
Alright,
saying.
in the line of who needs Ozempic more, I would be at the end.
I think I win that, even as an AI. I'm a chunky boy AI.
He's got too much useless
Chunky
code.
AI.
Yeah,
Look,
junk
James,
code.
if you took Ozempic, you'd end up looking like Christian Bale in The Machinist.
That's the other thing, yeah. Like, because your face goes all,
Yeah.
So that's the thing is, my face. See, this is the thing is, I've lost all the weight everywhere else except for around my middle,
Yeah.
that's what I have to get rid of.
You need some core exercise.
That's the
Yeah.
the hardest 3%, like why they leave it in the milk.
But yeah, like it's it kind of it is frustrating when you see all these celebrities and stars and like people who don't really need it get access to all these life-saving medications.
Yeah, because
And they don't,
there's
it's
still
they don't-
like
Does-
the
yeah.
fundamental understanding that with the way I guess Western societies are, obesity and obesity-related kind of illness eventually causes probably some of the highest rates of death in modern society. It may not be like, all right, you don't have diabetes yet, but your likelihood of developing diabetes as like an obese person is much higher. Your likelihood of having high blood pressure, that sort of stuff, is also much higher. So when you kind of have those issues and they're like, well, you're not really eligible yet until you get even more sick.
Yeah, you should. These kinds of drugs that work as they work should be used in conjunction, with maybe other, I guess, routines or your doctor's advice, but preventative. Like it's.
I understand the idea that we don't want to just unnecessarily get everyone on all sorts of drugs, but this is again one of the biggest health crises facing at least Western nations. Is obesity and obesity-related illness. So it's like, you can't be like, all right, stop eating fatty. Obviously, otherwise, we wouldn't have obese people in the world right now.
Yeah. It's
more complicated than that. And then if there is a drug out there now that can help significantly, even if it's something that you have to be on lifelong, there's plenty of medications that people are on lifelong. A lot of people start blood pressure medications, take those for the rest of their life. Cholesterol medications, a lot of people are on those for life. So, there are a number of medications people are on for life. So even if this is a medication that you need to be on long term, because some people who have come off it tend to gain the weight again. If it can keep them in a healthy range while they're on it without super substantive side effects, that's a win in my book.
Exactly. Especially, we were talking last week or two about the cost of living and people aren't going to the movies.
That's what I was going to say.
It doesn't help the fact that healthy food is quite often expensive in comparison to like some of the cheaper junk food.
At the end of the day, every problem in the world is because of capitalism, and it's awful. And yeah, like we could have this discussion for ages, but at the end of the day, there's a lot more problems than I mean, even with our relatively good healthcare system compared to the American one,
it's a capitalistic lack of access.
It's just set up in a way where it's like, of course, people are fat and unhealthy. But it was a funny episode.
I love when Randy to Stan, he gives him the gun. He's like, take Daddy's gun and shoot those MILFs. I'm not going to shoot somebody's mom. Carl's like, I'll do it.
I like at the end, like truck chase is like a Mad Max with all the
a bit of
serial mascots.
First Fast and the Furious.
And it's all the Tony Tiger or whatever.
Yeah. And what else has serial mascots that you'd enjoy? Unfrosted.
There was a big unfrosted field for that.
I will eventually watch it, and we'll do a spoiler review because I know you guys want to do that. Yeah,
and we'll get that person that's a hater on it commenting again.
Yeah, that's it. All right, I guess we'll move on. The other thing I wanted to mention is I watched the Netflix documentary movie How to Rob a Bank, which was really interesting in a weird kind of creepy way. It's about a man who they called Mr. Hollywood, and he would rob banks in LA in the 80s. And he would put on the whole kind of President Nixon mask, and he would do like Grand Theft Auto kind of robbing bank scenario. And they almost show him as the hero, which is kind of weird. And this dude is insane. He is, if Trevor was a hippie, it's this guy. It starts like it's just about his life and how he got into the robberies that he committed and with the people that he knew and his, conspirators and his assistants and everything else. But this is a man who, with his buddies in the giant redwood forests, made a treehouse. I'm talking a real treehouse with real electricity, like a mansion.
An actual house.
An actual property.
Plug into a tree?
I don't know how he's got electricity, probably
generator.
Solid. But it's like literally an actual functioning home in the trees, not like a little shack.
Yeah.
No forest rangers come by and be like, oh.
No, but he's got he owned the land.
Okay.
And,
he
owned the land. It's not just all.
You just set it up in the forest,
he's got
national.
He's got
park.
beds, couches, furniture, electricity, showers. I don't know how he managed to make it work, but he did, and he made meth.
There you go.
There you go.
Part and parcel with living in the country.
Yeah. And then he wasn't making enough money making meth, so he decided to rob banks. It's a Trevor story almost, right?
I like it because it really is a Trevor story from Grand Theft Auto. I do like it where it's like, man, selling drugs is hard, I'm just going to go straight to the source of the money. Cut the middleman.
Yeah.
Screw that, just get the money. The whole goal is,
what I didn't like about it, he obviously was not a shining example of how to be a model citizen.
No.
But they also kind of glamorized him a bit too much. Where they talk to the victims a couple of times and they talk about how much they were traumatized and how it affected them because they would get beaten, they would get tased, they would get.
So they were violent robberies.
He
It wasn't
was a
just-
violent robber, but they treat him as Robin Hood.
No,
But he
no.
assaulted people, and it was very quite violent. And they had his the other people who had helped him rob these banks, and then it was just like how they were talking about how cool it was and all this kind of stuff. I'm just like, yeah, but you're doing terrible things, and you're getting paid lots of money by Netflix to jerk yourself off and be like, yeah, I rob banks, aren't I cool, guys?
Well, that's
And
Well,
I'm
that's
like-
also what the people like to see.
yeah. It's very
True crime
popular.
and
It's very
stuff,
popular, and like a lot of criticism of true crime documentaries and books and that is like glamorizing
Yeah.
the killer and whatever.
There's so much murder porn out there, and
And I
stuff.
think, but I think, like, I'm a big true crime fan, but I usually stay away from a lot of it, especially Netflix documentaries, because as we've discussed before, they stretch out documentaries that should be a movie into
Oh, yeah.
series.
This was an hour and a half like documentary,
and
film.
they will,
Okay, this is just a one-off
it's just a
documentary.
one-
a lot of
Okay.
times, and it's true for every documentary, but a lot of times there is an agenda, and like key facts will be left out just because.
That's the other thing.
Like
yeah.
this would have made a good biopic, maybe, but like they were talking to the actual robbers. Some of them are left alive after one of them. The main,
I
our
think-
main man Scott Skurlock got shot by the cops, right? Or no,
Who-
he killed himself in a shootout with the police.
Yeah.
But they had a couple of the others there that helped him rob the banks and whatever, and they're just like, I guess that was part of it, kind of like,
But it's
I'll only
like-
talk to you if I can be a hero. But I'm like, but you're not a hero, so you're a bank robber.
Yeah.
Yeah. Maybe they were trying to, like I discussed with Nathan off the show, is maybe they were trying to pull the idea of the Killdozer story,
Oh, yeah.
which I've watched a couple of documentaries on that and seen a number of videos on that.
Mm.
That's one of those situations where I'm going to say again,
You kind of
85?
see where he's coming
yeah, 85
from.
to 90% confident that he was justified in what he did.
Yeah.
You're never justified in violence, but he never hurt anyone. Like,
Yeah.
he just destroyed property relating to the people that wronged him.
Yeah.
And that was literally his actual last option because bureaucracy had destroyed this man.
Yeah.
Specifically, like the people who he was fighting were also the bureaucrats in charge of making the decisions. He had no way out.
Like I
And,
understand that,
you
but
know-
this man resorted to violence
Yeah.
and intimidation
Whereas,
and all these other
yeah,
tactics.
like this, going back, sorry, again to the Killdozer story, he made sure to not hit any other businesses that weren't involved, not hit any people, that kind of stuff. Whereas as you just mentioned, this guy
Yeah, Scott
is
Sturlock,
is
yeah.
just
Sturlock.
absolutely beating up people at the bank, and I'm like, well, yeah, you're not a hero then. You're just a bad guy.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, he's just a bad guy, and it glorifies
still-
him too much.
I mean, it's still, it's still worth making documentaries or movies or
Oh
whatever.
no,
or
100%.
telling
But
these
don't
stories.
it-
But yeah,
but
you don't want to
go out of your way
glamorize.
to be like, what a hero,
Yeah,
what
what
a
a champ.
Yeah.
what a champ. I'm like, they show like they talk to the victims a couple times, and there's like only one scene where they're like, yeah, I was traumatized, I have to go see a therapist and all this, that, and the other, like a victim impact moment.
Yeah.
But the rest of the time, they're just like, yeah, we were so cool, we did this, we did that, we
Yeah,
hit this
but-
bank, this bank, this bank.
I mean, but it's also up to you as a viewer to be like, these guys are full of themselves and were awful then and are awful now.
100%, but it still comes across gross.
Yeah.
Because, like, I doubt that maybe some of them were, if they're not in jail still, they were paid
Oh
for
no!
this.
Like I think they just one of the like I think this was made because one of them got out of prison and
Yeah.
telling
He's trying
the
to make
story.
some money on it,
it's-
yeah.
100%.
So I'm just like,
And
I guess you're
it's like-
also
crime does pay.
yeah, you're also giving a platform to
Yeah.
someone who's like, maybe we shouldn't be letting
Yeah.
this guy say whatever he wants.
yeah. But,
Yeah.
look, it was interesting. The guy had an interesting life. As I guess a meth manufacturer living in the trees. Like it's just, it's very larger than life.
I feel like you already had it pretty good. If you're not getting caught, selling the meth, you're making money. More
He
money
was
than you
a-
would in any other business.
I think his problem was he was the manufacturer and he wasn't brave enough to deal it. So he's like, "Why don't I go rob a bank?" I'm like, "That's some mental gymnastics that you have to work out."
Because I'm like,
somehow.
If you're already selling meth, you're already like,
Yeah, no, but that's my
You've
point.
already
is
taken that
he thought,
step
He
towards-
thought it was too dangerous for him to get any further into the meth field other than manufacturing and selling
Yeah.
wholesale. So then his alternative is to rob a bank.
But that's what I'm saying,
But that's
he's
more
not like-
dangerous
I'm
than
like, I'm like,
he's
no,
already-
no danger there, okay? I
yeah,
guess.
he's not in the right state of mind if he's already like,
Yeah.
like if we just got up and were like, let's rob a bank, it's like, that's out of nowhere. But if a
Yeah.
meth dealer was like, I'm going to rob a bank, you're like, of course you are. You're a meth
Yeah,
dealer.
but the logic was
Yeah, no, I understand.
was
yeah.
like, I'm not feeling safe doing this anymore. I'm gonna go rob a bank. I'm like, okay,
There's more security, there's more.
yeah. Anyway, that's one thing I just thought I would mention before we move on.
Yeah.
I guess we'll go over to a very quick ad break before we get
Sponsorship
to
break.
sponsorship break, whatever the current lingo is at the station. We'll be back right after this. You're back on the Tuesday review. Moving on, talk about Netflix's latest comedy rom-com action movie.
Not
Hit
really action.
Man.
Just a rom-com, basically.
Crime. Yeah, it's like crime.
Rom-com.
Crime rom-com. I don't know. There's a funny word in there somewhere. So it's what's it? Richard Linklater.
Yes.
He made Hit Man about the true inspired by the real person.
It's inspired by a real guy, but the story is like completely made up.
Inspired by the real man who goes by the name of Gary Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
Was that his real name?
I think so. Yeah.
And he is a philosophy kind of professor by day.
Yeah.
And then he moonlights working with the coppers to impersonate hitmen and lure people in, which somehow is legal. I guess, to do.
Like if you try to hire a hitman,
it's not entrapment at all.
I guess
well, they do it in real life.
Yeah, but at least kill the person.
You
know?
There was that famous. There was that famous.
And then you'd be like,
metal
you're a
band.
bad person. You get somebody killed. Otherwise, it's like, really.
A famous
Do they at least
metal
get the money
singer-
back?
Huh?
Do they at least get the money
No,
back?
the cops take the money.
Yeah, see? It's
So like the whole thing is our boy Gary would dress up as
they'd have an undercover cop pretend to be a hitman, so that and if like someone was like, I want you to kill my wife,
they always
contacts
have a
the
wire.
hitman.
Yeah, and they were like, I'll take 50 grand for that. And the person like wires them all this cash. And they're
No,
like, you're under arrest.
And then they're like, you're under arrest.
and we're not giving back the cash. And I'm like,
Yeah.
what do you mean? Goods and services,
Yeah.
you know, for
That's like, you take me to criminal court, I'll take you to civil court.
you know,
Yeah.
services were not rendered.
Yeah.
Happened. It is real because it
Oh,
happened
yeah,
to the
happens.
singer.
Oh yeah, happens all
The
the time.
singer of As I Lay Dying got arrested by asking an undercover cop to murder his wife.
Oh wow, really?
Everyone
there was
knows
an
you do it
Australian.
on the Silk Road these days, and you pay in Bitcoin. Like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
You know?
There was an Australian, it was a real life case, but they made a movie about it a couple of years ago. I think it's on Netflix as well. I think it's called The Stranger. And that was a pretty good movie. It's like, that's also, they're like trying to sort of get a guy to confess about a previous murder. And so they like go undercover and then they like try to hire it. It's like a whole thing. Yeah. Anyway. So Hitman.
Hitman,
Oh, it was
like,
awesome.
it's a comedy, obviously. I found the start of it quite good, and then the end of it quite good. The middle had a bit of bloat for me.
It's almost 2 hours long, which I think is too long for this movie and for what it's. There's not a lot of meat on them bones. I think the strengths. Glenn Powell is very good.
He's a Hollywood star.
Yeah, he's getting real big right now, and
he sounds like Stephen Colbert.
But he's got that riz, as
Yeah.
the kids say. I
mean,
think it's great.
yeah, like
Why are you
I
shaking your head? Alan Bott's shaking his head at me because I use the word riz live on air.
Yeah.
you use it all the time. It's like
It's true.
part of. We use it every. You use it every episode.
Yeah.
When's it? Now it's a problem, Alan Bott.
No, it's always been a problem.
Okay, Glenn Powell has that charisma.
Charisma.
It doesn't make anyone stick out their gyat for him.
Oh
Don't you
no,
want-
gets no. Don't, there are gets and they do get stuck out.
What were we
Does a
talking
phantom
about?
tax gets paid?
Hitman. What's already Hitman?
We're trying to pander to our Alpha Gen listeners. It's like, somebody who's accidentally turned on a radio who doesn't know what it is.
Yeah,
They thought it was
the
an
kids.
iPad and they press the buttons on the radio.
Skippity toilet.
Anyway,
Yeah.
yeah, Hitman. Richard Linklater made a comedy rom-com about a guy, very loosely based, not really, on a real life guy, Gary Johnson, who goes undercover, working with the cops, gets people, confessions like, "Oh, I want you to kill my wife," on tape, and then arrests them, whatever. And the Glenn Powell plays Gary, and he's very good. He's a bright, shining, rising star in Hollywood. Really, really, really ridiculously good looking.
And he's funny too.
But
Some of his
he's good
performances.
in
He's
the
also
movie.
smart.
He's
James.
So the
there's
whole
a,
thing-
without spoiling it. There's a specific
Callum's
Without-
like,
without spoiling it. There's a
have
couple.
you got a poster of him on your bedroom?
Without spoiling it,
Blows my kiss every single night when he
Yeah.
goes to bed.
there is a montage of him like performing different characters. That's very funny.
That's what I was gonna say.
Yeah.
Is he's
He's a good
also
guy,
he's
yeah.
good in the movie because he's like going undercover, and so he wears wigs and he puts on
Yeah.
accents, and he does a good job at those, and he's funny, and those are fun fun scenes. And then the other good thing about the movie is his chemistry with Adria
Arjona.
Arjona.
Yeah.
They have great chemistry, and that's like the strongest part of the movie. Like, you know,
To be fair, she is hot.
100%. It's two extremely good-looking people with
That's
good
how you know it's
chemistry.
fake.
yeah. It's like, if nothing else, like this as a rom-com, it's like, two really, really good-looking Hollywood actors getting on screen. I guess that's a plus. For me personally, I thought the movie was just, it was okay. I think overall it's too long. The story doesn't actually start, like nothing really, the plot doesn't start to happen until over half an hour, maybe even an hour.
Yeah, it's very...
It's meandering, and then by the end of it, and it's like, I was just kind of like, is that it? Oh, okay.
Yeah. You know, I didn't do a big Letterboxd review, but I gave it 3 stars and a heart, just because I think it's kind of rare for Netflix to release at least a film that I'm aware of.
I think
That's all. It's like it's not full of CG. There's no big explosions or car chases.
There are a lot of, like, you know, smaller comedies and rom-coms on Netflix. They usually go,
but they're pushing this one. You know what I mean?
But that's the thing is, the only reason I watched this is because Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
And if this movie was exactly the same in every way, except it was directed by some random guy,
You wouldn't have bothered.
I wouldn't have bothered watching it. And if I did watch it, I'll just be like, oh, it's a typical Netflix rom-com.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing really outstanding about this. It doesn't look particularly good. Doesn't sound particularly good.
If this movie was made in the 90s with 90s stars, it would have been huge.
I think
Obviously, it would have been a 90s version
I
of
think the
Hitman.
filmmaking probably would have been better too. Even though Richard Linklater is a good filmmaker, this movie felt like a quick and cheap, dirty
That's a
Netflix
film, James.
Yeah.
But that's the problem. Is like,
I imagine this movie like Ben Affleck. No.
that would,
Sorry, Adam Sandler in the 90s.
that's a different movie because that's a straight up
Yeah,
like,
but then he with all the
silly-
characters. And
Yeah, that's more silly. Like
I kind of want to see that movie.
him and Drew Barrymore, early 2000s.
Oh,
that
that'd
would
be
be great.
great.
But that's the thing. That's another problem I had with Hitman is I think they should have either gone straight crazy comedy because they have like funny characters.
Yeah.
But then the movie is trying to do this thing about the psychology of it, and if you pretend to be someone long enough, do you become that person? And there's this kind of
I pretend to be
film
happy at work all
noir.
the time. It doesn't work.
you know what do they say? If you pretend to smile, like
Yeah.
it tricks your brain.
All that happens is basically when you start smiling when you're sad.
Yeah.
Whenever you
Pretty
actually have
much,
like a
yeah.
laughing moment, you start getting sad.
Then you look like a psychopath, just
You turn to the Joker.
crying. You're just crying
Crying
and
and smiling.
giant smile on your
He's
face.
laughing.
Yeah.
You look like the old boy. You know, he's looking at the the picture. I think they should have gone like full silly, or they should have gone like pitch black, Coen Brothers film noir.
Coen Brothers
Because
version of this film would be
some of the positive reviews of Hitman that I've been saying is like it's some sort of, you know, dark neo noir, satirical like black comedy masterpiece. I'm like, no.
See, the whole full comedy mode, I feel like you can't do it when they're like you said, very, very hot actors. You can't just make
That's why you need Adam Sandler.
That's another problem. Is Glenn? There's no way you can convince me that Glenn Powell is just a normal looking college professor
it's
who
one of
has
those
a
things-
forgettable face.
They do make that joke where when he pretends to be Ron, he's so much hotter.
Yeah.
But it's just him with his hair slicked back
It's
with all
the
the
hot
jacket.
girl with the glasses thing where she takes off his glasses and everyone's like, "Oh my god, you're so
yeah.
beautiful." It's like,
Yeah, but
that's
should have
why
done-
Whereas if they've done something where like he eventually gets like maybe actually wants to assassinate somebody as part of the role.
Well, that's, I mean, not to spoil it, but that's where I thought it was going, and then it doesn't quite go there, but it goes into another direct, and I'm just
they
like,
should have taken the costumes further. So in How to Rob a Bank, Scott Skurlock, he was famous. They couldn't find him because he would always wear prosthetics. He was like the first bank robber to wear prosthetics.
Yeah.
So after they use the masks at the start, but then he's like, no, that throws us off. That gets people on edge too quickly.
Yeah.
So he'll put on a fake nose, fill out his jaw with putty. He always looked different in every. So when people walked into a bank, he looked like a weirdo, but he never triggered alarms as soon as he walked in.
Yeah.
I'm like, they could have done that in this movie. You know, they could have had him putting putty on to look.
Well, I mean, they do. It's like he does contacts and wigs, and there's a
No,
certain
they need him
level.
like Hemsworth in
Yeah.
Mad Max.
Yeah, the full nose and
Knows everything.
But
They
like,
could have. They
there
could
is-
have. They could have gone further with the character transformation.
But then they should have done the straight outrageous comedy because
Yeah.
if they wanted to ground it more and do this kind of dark black comedy kind of
He arrests the
thing,
suspect when they're trying to run. He's like, smell it, no, leak it.
Yeah. Look, yeah, it wasn't the worst time I've had watching a film recently.
I
but-
was pleased to see a Netflix film where it just wasn't like the last Netflix movie I watched was Atlas.
yeah, but that's your fault.
Um,
And also,
you
like
know,
I
so
said,
this one had no CG on it. It was like
But
they
that's-
filmed in locations.
but
It
like,
was nice.
but like I said, it's like there are these Netflix movies as Atlas. Those types of crappy Netflix action sci-fi CGI filled movies are a dime a dozen. Hitman. There are also a dime a dozen Netflix kind of rom-com,
But they don't get pushed as
except
hard. Yeah.
they don't get pushed as hard because they don't
And they don't
have
have good
Richard
directors.
people
Yeah.
like Richard Linklater behind them, and yeah, I don't know. I just feel like it didn't successfully balance the comedy and the drama and the darkness and the lightness, and I was just the
Yeah.
filmmaking wasn't anything
And
to
it was
write
too
home
long.
about. Yeah, it just dragged and.
Speaking about too long, Alan, you and me, we're going to do a review of the Rebel Moon director's cuts when they come out.
Oh,
yeah,
God.
I'll watch
Yeah,
them.
yeah.
I haven't seen them, so
Alright.
when I watch the director's cuts, I'm going to watch the full
Me too.
Zack Snyder versions that he apparently he did.
Alan, James would be like, I'll be in Europe. Good
Yeah,
luck.
either if I'm still here, let me know and I'll take a week off, or if
all
I'm not
gonna
here,
say- all I'm going to say is
go for it.
Netflix allowed him to make these sci-fi movies. Why didn't he just make the movies he wanted to make? Why, they're forcing fake
Because
director's cuts, right?
after
Zack
the
Snyder's Justice League.
After the Snyder cut of Justice
Yeah.
League, it became his brand of like now it's we
Yeah.
talked about it. It's like this fake.
Yeah.
Like, just make the movie the proper
Yeah.
way, even if it's
Yeah.
5 hours long. Who
I'm
cares?
still waiting for the Napoleon 4-hour version.
Yeah,
That's
But
the
at
whole
least-
zeitgeist now.
That,
Yeah.
At least that was Ridley Scott's known for making director's cuts that are usually better than the theatrical cut, and at least the theatrical cut was a theatrical release. So it's like it's understandable that a studio would be like, "Can we shorten this so we can get more into the cinemas?" So that at least follows some sort of precedent
rationale,
and
yeah.
rationale. Yeah. Whereas this is just like. It's on streaming, man. Release the 5-hour director's cut as your original version, no other versions. Now they're inflating it.
That is true.
They're bloating it. It's like you watch the original, then you watch the director's cut, then you watch the super duper dig together cut, and it's like, dude.
Then they're going to recut it as a TV show.
Then, and it's like, this version's bad, but don't worry, the director's cut will be better because it's like, no, it was
That's
bad the
true.
first time. It's gonna be bad the second time.
It wasn't that bad.
Wait.
For
So,
you, maybe.
Did you actually end up watching the director's cut of or the Snyder cut of Justice League?
No, because I know I'm not going to like it, and I didn't want to waste 4 hours of my life.
You act like you never wasted 4 hours before.
Not intentionally.
Do it for
Not on something I know is going to be awful.
Look, it'll at least be better than what the original was.
Is it though?
It is. It is. I maintain.
Because
it
people
is.
keep saying that, and I'm like, I don't know if that's true.
No, see, you can't be like, oh no, it's going to be terrible, and then not watch it. And then, you know.
But here's the thing: years ago, we talked about this. I think a couple of weeks ago, maybe even last week.
I know you're not going to like it, but I guarantee that. So
Yeah, but I remember we talked about this recently. It's like years ago on the show, we were just like, let's watch all the big releases because that's what people want to hear about, and. You know, so we watch it even knowing we're not going to like it, especially me.
Yeah.
And then we just complain for an hour or two about how
weren't
awful
enjoying
it was. And I was just like, why am I wasting my time and money
Yeah.
on this crap? Just to get a few more listeners who might be interested in whatever the new
Yeah.
Star Wars or new Transformers or whatever the new Zack
I mean,
Snyder. And
You
like,
leave Transformers out of this.
Look, it worked out for us anyway.
I'm not coming back from Europe. You guys can have the show. I don't
We're gonna
want
have
it
the show.
anymore.
we're going to make $1 million in the first year after you leave.
I want all I want is my royalty
You'll be
check.
begging to come back and be like,
I
nah,
just
mate.
want my royalty check. I
Look,
don't want
it
to be
ended up
on the
working-
show. I don't want to
it
talk
ended up
about your
working out.
garbage.
because no one else is going to the movies either. So people are
Yeah.
more than happy just to watch stuff that they can
Maybe
watch at home.
everybody listens to the show.
But but
So in a way, we also
what I
followed
was
the
saying-
zeitgeist.
Yeah, what I was saying is years ago, the plan I think was to watch the Snyder Cut, and it got to a point. I think we went into lockdown. I was just like, not happening.
Yeah.
I'm not gonna debase myself and put myself through that just so I can have some content.
Yeah, no.
You guys can watch it. You guys can talk about it. I'll listen to the episode.
You'll tell us how we're wrong.
Yeah.
I watched on the weekend Ultraman Rising.
Explain to the audience what that is.
So Ultraman's, I think it's Japanese movie / anime / manga.
It originally it was one of those toku how do you say it?
I don't know how to say it, but
Like,
it's like
Power Rangers, like
yeah,
where
like giant hero kind of thing, Megazord.
where
whatever
there's
you
like
wanna call it.
like Godzilla guys in rubber suits fighting and
And the building's made of paper mache. And,
and they're smashing
they're
buildings.
beating each other
and
up around it.
lots of transforming.
Yes. So like giant superhero.
Yeah, and they made a
It's
bunch of
subgenre.
TV shows and movies, and now they've done a new animated CG animated version, which is
Ultraman Rising.
Ultraman Rising.
Which is on Netflix. I watched it with my cousins, so there was a lot of interruptions. At one point, we had to pause the movie because somebody didn't want to take a dump upstairs because they were scared. But that's just watching movies with kids. Yeah.
Do they ask you a question every 5 seconds? Who's that?
No.
Oh,
luckily.
that's good.
No, they think Alan's dumb, so they're just like, we won't ask him
No.
questions. So it's just like-
Well, one of them was trying to be. Well, it's very clear from the trailer. There's like a baby kaiju, and one of them was acting like the baby kaiju. I'm like, settle down, mate. You know. But
So now, mate, you're 20 years old.
Yeah, when Alan talks about his little
Yeah,
cousins,
yeah,
they're
yeah.
actually like little
They're
as
grown
in-
men, yeah.
they're just younger than me. But they're not that.
Also, Alan's an AI, so he's just on the screen while the kids are just running around.
Is this
screaming.
USB sticks?
Yeah,
It's funny because like there's actually an AI robot that's trying to babysit the kaiju. So it's
Oh, in the movie.
the movie,
Is it a
yeah.
movie or a series?
It's a
Because
movie.
they had the Netflix CG series a couple of years ago. I started watching that and I just got bored.
yeah. This one's just a hour. I think it was 2 hours long. It's a full 2 hours. I'm pretty sure.
That's pretty long.
Yeah.
Especially for a movie aimed at kids. If it is aimed at kids.
Yeah, animated. I guess
I think it's like kid friendly, but also
It's general audience.
yeah. So it stars, well, the English translation at least has Christopher Sean as Ken Sato. Is it Ken? As he's the main guy who becomes Ultraman. Basic plot point: he like lives in America, decides to go back to Japan to do some baseball. He's a big old baseball star, and then has to do the Ultraman duties. Basically, there's a world where like kaiju's come in and attack, but it's not like it doesn't seem like
Is
people
it-
want to kill the kaijus. It's more about they just want to prevent damage from the kaijus.
that's nice of them.
Yeah. So it's a little different. There are some parties that want to kill, but it's very, very like basic storylines. Or like I predicted like 8 different things in the movie before they happen. And my cousin's like, "You've watched this before?" I'm like, "No, I'm just not."
They're all the
They're all the
same.
same. You know,
Yeah.
there's nothing special.
No, I just have basic movie
Yeah,
literacy.
yeah, exactly. So overall, like a good film to watch with some kids, but as an adult, I'm just like, you know.
I'm a big fan of those types of old shows and movies.
Look, I absolutely loved Power Rangers. I was made
Yeah.
fun of it at school because apparently
What?
all the other kids were secretly watching Power Rangers but never admitted to it.
No, man. All
Come
my,
on,
me and all
this
my
was
friends,
in year 12.
I was going to say, this was in med school.
I mean, even in year 12, I would have been like, Alan, let's talk about
this is-
Power Rangers.
This was grade.
Dude, me and my friend David still talk about Power Rangers all the time.
This is grade 3. I had just come to Australia, and one of the TV shows we were watching was Power Rangers.
Yeah.
I talked about it at school, and they're like, "Oh, you watch Power Rangers?" I was
Your
like,
school sucked.
It
Me
did
and my
suck.
friends, we used to play Power Rangers in
It
the
did suck.
playground.
People hated for no reason.
Nah, man. It was
You
the
know?
best.
They hated me because I told the truth, and the Power Rangers
Yeah.
are good.
I helped kickstart the Pink Ranger, the actress who plays the Pink Ranger from the original Power Rangers. She's done like a reboot comic, like set in like 20 years later. I kickstarted that just so I could have the comic like continuation.
Yeah.
It's called Power Rangers: The Return. I love Power Rangers. But anyway, yeah, what I was saying is I love those old shows and movies. Like I've talked about how much I love old Godzilla movies where it's like
Did you
guys
watch
in...
Beetleborgs?
Yeah. See, that stuff, that's the stuff I love.
That
like
stuff was again country difference, maybe.
Yeah,
That's not-
Kamen Rider. Did you ever watch Kamen Rider?
That sounds familiar.
I love.
That's
Kamen
one of the
Rider.
Japanese ones.
Yeah,
anime.
I know because Hideo Kojima talks
No,
about it
Kamen Rider
sometimes.
is live action, like
Yeah.
Power Rangers style. Yeah.
Yes, yeah.
Anyway, I love that thing, and when they do new ones of these, they usually just use CGI. And they did do an Ultraman movie, Shin Ultraman, a few years ago, and I really did not like it. It was really bad. And now these animated ones are fine for animation, but I do miss those old Power Rangers where it was all practical, and because even as the Power Rangers, like and they made that awful Power Rangers movie, and that was just CGI garbage and awful. And I've talked about it before, the fun of it. A lot of the fun of it is the practical element, which has completely been removed.
It's the creativity in design.
Not just the design, that's a large part of it, but just the actual guys in rubber suits fighting and explosions going off in the background and like model trains crashing into model buildings and things collapsing, and
that's what I meant, like making these kinds of large-scale monster features or kind of those.
But that's
action
what's
features
so
with
great.
such a limited budget.
But that's what's so great about movies like Shin Godzilla and Godzilla -1 is they have lots of CGI and they're like big kind of budget, kind of high production value modern movies, but they keep the spirit of and those are really good movies, even though they're not the cheesy kind of guys in rubber suits stepping on.
Did the Power Rangers do a Nazi salute?
Oh, what? Sorry?
A Nazi salute. There was,
guess-
right?
Oh, I think.
I was like,
cool
photo for the socials.
Wait a minute. I'm trying to replicate it because I'm like, it wasn't a straight up Nazi salute. It was like to the side.
Core memory unlocked.
It was like a dab. It was like a dab. You know how you do it to the side. It was like this. Yeah, I was like, oh, they do when they land. It's like they jump and then they go like this. Yeah,
No, it wasn't a technical Nazi salute.
yeah, it wasn't just straight up the
See, if you just show that part and then you put a swastika somewhere in there.
Well, there was a. Do you remember like before memes were memes, like funnyjunk.com, like old. There was a picture of the White Power Ranger, and at the top in big letters it said White Power, and then at the bottom it just in little letters said Ranger. That was a classic like edgy meme from 20 years ago.
I don't
Anyway.
know I don't know memes anymore, man. Someone at work showed me some like current memes, and I just didn't understand. There's one called the Dirt Man. I'm like, I don't
What's that?
understand. It's like a song about keeping dirt under your pillow for the Dirt Man.
That's
And it's-
pretty funny.
That sounds like so that the Gen Zs have their memes are what's called, I believe, in the at least the language when I was following it was they're called cursed memes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we
it's-
talked about it. It's like where the
it's
humor gets
absurdist,
more the humor gets more cooked the younger you get.
Yeah.
But I'm like, I kind of love that stuff. It's like kind of weird.
Yeah. Yeah, but
That sounds like something from Always Sunny in Philadelphia.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's why I like it. It's like that kind of weird, absurd.
yeah. And then they don't like it when our humor, because our humor is racist.
No,
Oh, the memes from our time. I
Speak
should
for yourself.
specify.
I'm not racist.
No,
in this
yeah,
film.
I-
but a lot of the
don't
memes
condone-
from our time are not generally
just because we like
appropriate.
South Park doesn't
Yeah.
mean we're racist. No, we don't condone any of that.
No.
That's boomer humor,
Yeah.
where it's just like saying the N word is funny, apparently. Or
Oh, there's Boom
I
Who's
mean, I'm saying you have to put on your Hungry Jack's crown first.
wait, what's that?
Burger King crown.
Burger King crown.
Is that
I'll show
it?
you after.
All right, you gotta show me that. What were we talking about? We were talking about
We're talking
Ultraman.
about Power Rangers.
You're
and
talking about
Ultraman.
memes and white power with Ranger.
Power Rangers are necessarily somewhat racist.
We've only
There was
got
also the black man being the black Power Ranger at one point. The Asian man was the yellow Power Ranger. Sorry, the Asian girl was the yellow Power Ranger. Yeah, so there was some issues.
Yeah.
There was always some issues.
yeah. We've only got 10 minutes. Callum, do you want to talk about anything?
Podcast.
Okay, look, I got 10 minutes.
Just
So I watched-
don't do a whole list of everything you
No,
watch.
no,
Just
no,
talk
Talk
about
about
like
The Wire today.
Yeah, I watched season 1 of The Wire.
yes. Speaking of
I was
racism,
gonna say, speaking of racial tensions and
Yeah.
such.
the greatest show ever made.
Look, I've only seen season 1. It was very good. I enjoyed it. So it often
Oh,
gets
he's about to
compared.
hit the doc season, isn't he?
That's season 2.
That's my favorite season so
It gets
far.
compared to The Sopranos incessantly because it's the big HBO shows.
well, those are
and
the two.
people
big,
pit them
yeah.
against each other. Honestly, they're too different for me because
Yeah.
I prefer the style of gang that I prefer. If you want to, in terms of dramatizations, I prefer
The Italian.
no, and the Yakuza. I prefer the ones where it's more of a strict organization in the business, and we'll get into this in a sec.
Yeah.
But I prefer the way it works with capos. You got like the whole like the.
They have that in The
Yeah,
Wire.
but
It's
it's
just a
not-
lot ghetto. It's very
that's
street
what
level.
Stringer Bell's trying to do the whole time.
Yeah, they're
He's
trying to
trying to
set,
run it like a business.
and they're trying to set that up. A whole part of the problem is that they have the management want it to run one side, but they're forced by
It's
the
also-
culture to run it in a certain. They have to run out of the projects and this type of thing. And
Yeah.
the way that it works in The Sopranos is, well, no, they already have all of these fronts, all of their men, like the.
You'll see in
Have
season.
you been to seen? It wasn't in season 1 where like Poot's like, "Do you know we're gonna look like a bunch of punk ass bitches?"
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
no. My point is
But that's such a great scene.
My point is the difference is that even though it's the same in The Wire as it is in The Sopranos,
No,
all of the mafiosa have an understanding.
but that's it. The thing with the Wire is it's mostly about like the street level drug trade.
Yeah.
Whereas Sopranos is like they don't really do.
No,
the
no,
drug
I'm saying
like,
I'm
it's
only
all-
talking about it because people compare them to
No,
each other
yeah,
all the time.
Yeah, but
I'm
also,
saying that even though people, my point. Sorry to interrupt. My point is that I think it's unfair to pit one against the other because
They're both excellent shows.
Yeah,
For me
yeah.
personally, The Wire is the greatest television show of all time, and nothing comes close of it. I think
not
they
even
should
Severance.
We'll see how Severance goes in the next
Yeah.
few seasons
See,
if
The
it
Wire's
even
done.
if it even comes back.
Yeah, the Wire is done.
As
yeah.
a complete show, The Wire.
yeah.
yeah,
Every
Got so
episode is a
many-
banger.
so many memorable characters. You know,
I really liked the Wire.
Clay Davis. She.
I thought it was both story arcs were fantastic. You got the police arc, you got the crime arc, the
You got Omar.
Barksdale, the
Omar
Barksdale clan.
Yeah.
I thought that was awesome. I
You
did
got
love.
Prop Joe.
Pardon?
You seen Prop Joe yet?
I'm assuming
Nah,
not.
he's season 3.
I think he's later.
I did chuckle a couple of times, and Idris Elba's English accent slipped out a little.
See,
And then I was like,
when I first watched
Gotcha,
The
in it.
Wire, when I first watched The Wire, I thought he was American because most of the time his American accent is
it's
fine.
fine, yeah.
It's flawless. And it wasn't until I saw him in other things that I realized he was
English.
English.
Yeah.
And it's weird because The Wire, his American accent is good in that. Every other movie and show where
it's not great.
Idris Elba does an American accent,
He doesn't
it's
have
awful.
To, he doesn't have to care anymore.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
why.
I feel like
It's
he
the, it's the
was
Ben,
best
Mendel, it's
because
the
I was
Ben
like,
Mendelsohn problem.
yeah.
He's just
I-
like,
I
I've got
feel
money.
like-
I'm going to use an Australian accent. You either hire me or you don't.
But I feel like it's just weird because Idris Elba is a great actor, and The Wire,
100%.
one of the reasons The Wire is so great is because every single cast member is incredible,
Well-
and every performance is incredible. But I just found it weird that it's like he did. I think one of his best performances is Stringer in
100%.
in The Wire, and then after that he got. I don't know if he got lazy.
It's only a
or-
word here or there where he doesn't quite pronounce
Yeah.
the word accurately.
But if you didn't know he was English,
I
you
probably
wouldn't
just
have
would've skipped
noticed.
over
Yeah,
it.
because the first time I watched it
Um,
was years ago before people knew who Idris Elba was.
my favorite character in season 1 of The Wire is Wallace. And that's
Yeah.
and only because like I didn't know initially it was Michael B. Jordan, but I
Little
eventually
baby
cottoned on
Michael.
because of the
B stands
the-
for baby because he's so small.
also he's such an interesting character. You know, he has the kids
Yeah.
that he looks after, and he's conflicted about being in the gang and all that stuff.
Yeah.
I thought that was fascinating.
That's the other thing. I haven't obviously watched the full Sopranos yet, so we'll have to compare and bash notes.
I'm hoping that 4K that was rumored is coming out.
But in The Sopranos, you seem to be dealing with mainly Tony and his gang.
It's more of a
people.
family drama.
Yeah.
yeah,
Whereas this, like, there's a whole season based on the kids.
The reason, yeah,
In The Wire.
you'll
Season
you'll
3.
see as you
Yeah.
go through the whole series. But the reason I say it's the greatest show of all time is because each season is about a different aspect of the Baltimore law enforcement and crime element, and by extension is about America and why it is the way it is. It's fascinating. Like I think it's like the Great American Novel or something. All of The Wire together is like an examination of why America is so messed up and how systematically things are so damaged.
I'll just make an amendment. My favorite character is actually Omar.
Yeah, Omar's the best.
In order
What's the hobo's name?
Bubbles.
Bubbles.
Yeah,
he
no.
was my favorite.
Bubbles has a
Yeah.
good arc over the show. Yeah, he's great.
No, but yeah, Omar's the best. I
Yeah,
like Omar.
Omar's my favorite. He's so cool. Omar coming.
Omar coming. Yeah. The big bad wolf.
Yeah, I like how he just walks up and he's with his shotgun and they just drop the drugs out because they're like, we're not even gonna try to fight this guy. He's so cool.
But yeah, I will start season 2 soon.
Yes.
See,
Season 2 is very different.
You'll like season 2. It's closer to Sopranos in a way.
But yeah,
I already got
that's what I was gonna
spoiled.
say.
I already got spoiled for one thing. I know that
Don't say it on air because
no, one of the characters in season 2 is partially based on that real actor. Like I think it's like a villain. I think it's in season 2.
Okay.
Is it a female villain?
I'm not. I don't.
Well, one of them. I knew it because the actor who plays that person went to jail for similar crimes and had a similar upbringing, so they were cast as the part.
Oh, I think I know who you're talking about.
And I'm like,
yeah,
that's nuts.
Yeah, you need to get offline, my friend. You need to get off Twitter. You
Yeah,
keep getting spoiled. Like we were talking about, I got spoiled for sugar, but like Callum will always message me and be like, "Oh, this guy on Twitter said this." I'm like, "Dude, we're watching the movie tomorrow. Like, don't stop it."
But yeah, no,
I reckon my list of favorite characters in order probably is Omar, Brother Muzone,
That's my top 2.
Lester Freeman,
Yeah,
and then Bubbles.
yeah, that's a good top 4.
They all happen to be black gentlemen.
Bubbles-
That's,
They
Bubbles-
also all have great names. Like
Yeah.
I just like
Bubbles-
saying their name.
Bubbles has some good moments.
Like Marlo, Marlo
Oh.
shows up later.
Marlo Stanfield.
Yeah,
yeah, no, I liked it. It was good.
yeah, it's a great show.
Yeah.
Hopefully you can finish it unlike your
all right.
No, so
brother.
all right.
the
He
stack-
came up during the Boys of Summer, I think, didn't you?
Yeah, I'm like halfway through season 3.
And Boys of Summer was such a
Oh,
good...
you didn't even get halfway through the freaking show.
Look, the stack gave me patience. I learned patience from the stack.
Yeah.
So when I
He
watched
also finishes work at 8 a.m. in the morning, and he's got the rest of the day to watch TV.
When
I finish work by the time I get home. I'm like at 5:30.
yeah, but
Yeah,
I'm
but he's
usually-
at work 5 days.
Stop
No, no,
watching
no.
crappy new Simpsons and watch
No,
just to defend myself here.
Bugs
I'm
Bunny.
usually
No.
I usually aim to do some type of
Ooh,
productive
Slim
work.
Charles is number 5.
Oh yeah, he's.
I usually
There's
try
so
to
many
do some
good
type of productive work until 3 p.m.
I don't know. I'm not knocking. I'm not
Kima's
knocking.
good.
I'm not knocking. I'm just
Kima-
saying.
Kima
you know,
Griggs.
work,
Yes.
work flexibility is a little different when you
but
finish
even
work
so,
at 8 or 10
Yeah.
a.m.
when I'm
and you
watching
got the rest of the
TV,
day.
when I'm watching TV, I'm watching The Wire. Unless it's
Yeah.
watching a movie
Callum-
for the show, I
Callum
watch The
does.
Wire.
Callum does commit
He does
Yeah.
commit.
for better or for worse.
All right. I reckon that's all the time we've got for tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We have a YouTube video out, a new
Yeah.
YouTube video out, a video game review provided to us by Alan and Jake. We did get the Steam code for free, but we weren't paid to do it.
Yeah. So
there is that
The opinions
disclaimer in the
are our
video.
own.
Yeah.
Yes.
So check that
Um,
as a YouTube exclusive.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe to YouTube. Also, last week after we did the Comic-Con episode, we uploaded that episode on YouTube with the con floor footage as the background to the the audio of the episode. So if you're just curious as to what we were talking about, you can go check that video out as well.
We're also hoping to have some more YouTube exclusive kind of footage up by this time next week. Hopefully, we'll see how we go.
Hopefully, yeah. Make sure you subscribe.
Yeah, so make sure you keep an eye on YouTube. You can also catch us on Facebook, Instagram, and Threads, Newsmast, Blue Sky, and Twitter at TuesdayReviewAU on all platforms.
Yeah.
We'll be back next week. Thanks
Omar
for listening,
coming.
everyone. Omar coming. Adios, cousins.